悩ませちゃったかも。違うこと頼めばよかった。
この言葉はどうでしょう。
はい。
365 days to the wedding, and should you watch it? You know, going into this anime, I was actually pretty positive going into this because there's a couple of different genres that this includes, which is workplace, like, you know, like work life and romance. And genuinely, I do really enjoy those two types of things, especially the ones that tend to cover adults. Typically, we don't tend to get anime that kind of cover the adult lifestyle. Sure, we've gotten a few different anime that are in this subgenre, and for the most part, they've actually all been really, really good. The thing that they have to really overcome with these romance anime, especially with the adult ones, is making it entertaining and making it natural, especially if you're going to be hosting or featuring two individuals who haven't really had success with love. There's always a unique thing there. It's like, okay, maybe one person's a drunk, maybe one person's this, maybe one person is very awkward, maybe one person has tried but has failed, maybe one person's a workaholic, whatever the case is. So what they decided to do for this specific show is they had two characters in 𝐒𝐻𝐚𝐧𝐬𝐭 and Takuya Ohara. And Takuya's kind of shtick or thing is that he is, well, one, he's awkward and socially awkward, but two, he's somebody who takes a lot of time to process things that are being said to him and how he will react. The way his brain works, I guess you can call it maybe on the spectrum or something. I think that's kind of what they refer to, kind of folks that think a little differently than what you would pin target as the normal demographic of people. So for him, he it takes a little longer to process things, and that's kind of his thing that he's had to overcome his whole life. Is he's had a lot of struggles because it's not that he doesn't want to talk to people, it's not that he doesn't want to engage people, is that it just takes a little bit for him to cope, process, understand, and then think of a something to say, as opposed to when you're interacting with somebody who doesn't have those traits. When you're interacting with them, it doesn't take them very long to process. It's pretty much like, hey, what'd you do this weekend? Oh, nothing much, really. For him, it's like, what'd you do this weekend? He's like, well, you know, I did a little bit of this. You know, maybe I marinated this, and then maybe I went, I fed my cat this and this. And like, by the time he's ready to go and give a response, the person's going, okay, well, have a good one, man. And then they walk away. And that's really affected his life for the majority of life. And it totally makes sense. On the opposite side, you have this. Oh, and Takuya is a big proponent or big believer of his cat. So he found and or rescued a cat who he's gotten to a point now where the cat's really loving him, and it's a big part of his life. The cat is an animal, you know, companion. That makes sense. On the opposite side of the coin, we have 𝐒𝐻𝐚𝐧𝐬𝐭, and her whole shtick or her whole thing is. She has RBF, which is like resting bitch face. And she's also socially awkward. And she can talk to people, but typically the way that she engages people is more of more from a place of caution and more of a place of being prejudged just based on her experiences. She gives off a lot of very intimidating vibes and stuff like that. So for her struggles in life have been just... The way that she looks and reacts doesn't match her internal dialogue, but it's taken as so that's kind of affected her in a negative way. And it takes her a lot to muster up courage to be able to overcome that, to where she, even this episode, she will run away as opposed to engaging. Again, makes sense, but you have these two very socially awkward people who I think could break down barriers. One, where Takuya can be more comfortable and having that comfort... Just like when he's talking to his cat, having that comfort, he doesn't overanalyze. And then for 𝐒𝐿𝐴, having someone who's not judging her based on the way that she looks and reaching out to her, I think can break down the barrier of that as well, too. So you have these two varied individuals that it does make it seem like on paper, this would be very, very entertaining. Now, to get to the point of should you watch it, I don't know, okay? So for me... the episode, I did pause it halfway through. It was a little boring, okay? And that's where my first struggle comes into is on paper, the things I just described to you, the two characters I described to you sound pretty good. It sounds pretty good. But in practice, it's a little boring. And that's kind of where my turmoil comes in. Personally, again, should you watch it, did you like it? Did you watch the first episode? You should watch the first episode, give it a shot. Did you like it? Did you like the topics? Did you like the subject matter? Did you like the socially awkward? Can you empathize, or can you not project, but have you had experiences like that before? Are you somebody who maybe is perceived a certain way, but that's totally wrong? Are you somebody who takes a little bit to process stuff? If you can kind of see yourself in any of these two characters, you might be a little closer to it. And because you're a little bit closer to it, you may find yourself being more intrigued and, more interested in this show. For me, I can kind of see myself. Well, two things. I kind of see myself, in Rika a little bit, and I kind of see my wife in Rika a little bit. The two things is, I've been told in the past before that I could be, and look at least, intimidating and stuff, and people really need to get to know me for that barrier to be broken down. Now, the thing is, for me, on a personal level, is I can force extroverting. Like I can force like being extroverted. I was in sales for a long time, so I can be the, hey, how's it going, bubbly and stuff, and I can be more approachable that way. But I tend to have that resting, get the fuck away from me face. For the opposite side, my wife has that as well too. For her, she can be extroverted. She has to force it a little bit more. It takes a little more, so I can see that. So from that side, yes, a little bit, I can kind of see that. Takuya, I can't even, I can empathize and I can understand, but I can't have that commonality at all. So for me, it's a little hard to really see myself in either of those two characters. So immediately for me, I don't have commonality. I can empathize and sympathize, but I don't have commonality with either of these two characters. So I have to genuinely be in it because I like what they're representing. Okay, so let me say I get over that barrier, and now we're bringing these two, Rika and Takuya, together, and they're sharing a cool moment on the Ferris wheel, and they kind of were making their, how did they meet, into kind of like their first date. And Rika gives Takuya, some rings to kind of officiate it and make it official. And he's like, okay, I should tell her now, like, okay, please marry me. But he's like, I can't quite utter those words because it feels like it has deeper meaning in here. He's basically overthinking and overanalyzing, basically the epitome of what his character is. And I can see the writing on the wall that we're going to spend several episodes him building up to finally saying that, hopefully by episode 8 or something like that. And I just don't know if I want to be that bored for potentially cute moments, but boring drive and plot line and stuff. So for me, should I watch it? My answer is no. I think that this has two wins to it. I think that this would be okay for a weekend warrior, like a Saturday, Sunday. Maybe me and the wife watch this on like a Saturday or a Sunday. We binge the projected 11 episodes and we go, oh, that was a pretty cute experience. Thankfully, we were able to knock that out in about 2.5 hours, as opposed to waiting 11 weeks. I think this is scheduled for. I think this is scheduled for 12 episodes or 11 episodes, but 11 or 12 weeks, right? So instead of, having to wait 11 or 12 weeks, we just say, oh yeah, at the end of it, we watched it together and it was a cute experience. And, or if this happens to get a dub, we wait for this to be done and wait for the dub to be done. And then we watch it. And I think it'll be a much more enjoyable experience. A, I don't have to read, and B, I can just binge it. And again, in about 2.5 hours, about 2.5 hours, maybe 3 hours. But in a long movie length time, we could just kind of watch it all at once, instead of me coming on here on camera every week saying like, oh, well, this has to, this has to, watch the fine line of entertaining and interesting and boring. And too often it skews to boring. I just think that there's too much good shit this season for me to go and commit to a potentially boring anime. And for you, if you're at home and you're wondering, like, you don't have any skin in the game, like you don't have to cover it for any media or write an article, for you, it's kind of one of those things of like, Were you bored at all? And if the answer was yes at moments, I think those moments are going to continue. I think there's stuff here for some people. And I think some people will find a lot of, again, connection and empathy. And there's enough here to say, yeah, I'm really liking this. But there's enough here to say, oh, well, if I don't like it, you know, I don't think that you waste your time. So those are my feelings. I'm not going to make this video any longer. I want to showcase my big-ass belly bolt there. If you guys know, you guys know. Otherwise, you guys have a good rest of your day. Should you watch it? I'm going to say no. I'm not going to watch it from here on. But, hey, love that I could cover at least episode 1. And I'll see you guys for more fall anime. Peace.